whether Platner is guilty or not, the entire process was a sandbag job. And we know it was because we're now seeing that the transition, now that they got Platner out of the way, who naturally is the next person they're going to try to send?
It's irrelevant, and it's irrelevant. And I actually haven't really commented on the whole Platner thing since those allegations came out.
Well, let's let him speak. We clipped it.
I mean, to me, it's a moot point now, but yeah.
But here's what he had to say, and we'll respond.
I believe that for the movement to continue, it can't be me. And for that reason, we are suspending campaign operations.
Congratulations.
This is incredibly difficult because I know that some will think it's an admission of guilt, and it most certainly is not. We're not doing it because of the allegations. We're doing it because of the structures that are being taken away from us by those in power.
See, this is the thing. So what I'm so enraged. I'm so enraged. I have so many thoughts about this. I don't even know where to start, but I don't know how long this is, so you can let it play before I go off on this. And I don't even know the point.
And I also feel an immense amount of responsibility to everyone who has worked so hard to get us to where we are. We went toe-to-toe with one of the most entrenched political systems in the history of the world, and we won. We beat them on June 9th in overwhelming numbers. We did it the right way. We built a campaign. We engaged in electoral politics. We motivated people. We banded together. We did it the way that we were told we are supposed to make change. And we won. And now they are not going to let us have it.
Never were. Never were. It was never going to happen, unfortunately. This was the plan all along. They waited to the last hour. It's the exact same bullshit they did with Joe. This is part of the Dem game plan. This is what they do, which is why this guy should have run as an independent. But because they were always going to fuck him.
We'll finish it out in a second, but you and I both agree that all things being equal, especially in a state like Maine, if he had run as an independent, we both think he would be in the exact same position he's in right now, and he would still be in the race.
Yeah. He should have run.
Not if it's me. And so we're suspending campaign operations. I want to make clear, though, I intend to file my paperwork to withdraw. The process needs to assure that what comes next is reflective of the Mainers who on June 9th turned out and showed that they are desperate for a different kind of politics. It needs to be driven not from back rooms, but by the will of the people. And the decisions that come next must come from that.
Okay.
Before you go, but let me just say one thing.
I'm so angry.
You cannot, here's the thing, and I say this to all of our fellow colleagues that are out there. You cannot recreate what he did. You either have it or you don't have it. It's almost like a pheromone. You can't explain it. Zoran has it. Bernie had it, especially in 16. Trump has it. You can't explain this. It's just, it's science. And in the case of
it's more than that.
Well, sure.
It is what it is. Everybody is in the chat doing exactly what I would expect everybody to do. You're going to sit there and go back and forth and debate the value, the qualities, their problems with Graham Platner. I would suggest that I find most of that irrelevant. I find most of it irrelevant. And I'm going to tell you why. Okay, because it doesn't matter if somebody accuses him of something if he hasn't had due process. So first of all, there's that, right? So I don't think it's okay to just, when we say believe women, I'm going to give some caveats to that. And I don't care how unpopular this is, but unless you guys were absent during like all sorts of Amber Heard and Blake Lively shenanigans, we all as women have been violated. We know we have, which is why I believe women generally, when they say they've been violated, and that would be enough to open a criminal investigation and potentially have a criminal case against Graham Platner and let that play out how it may. That would be one thing. I suspect they don't have enough, which is why there aren't criminal charges being filed. So that was basically just a playbook by the Democrats. True or not, let the criminal justice system work that shit out. In the meantime, you're assuring that a genocide supporter is going to get to stay there. So now let's say hypothetically you let it play out and Graham Platner won, and then there's criminal charges and that goes again. Okay, then he can deal with that then, and then Susan Collins would be gone. But no. We all have to sit here and go back and forth about his tattoo and what this woman said. And another thing, for every woman that we all know has been violated, like me and every other woman, we all know women who lie. They lie to keep men. They lie to go against men. They lie about their kids. They lie about wanting kids. They manipulate and they lie and they use the system and they cry wolf and they play all sorts of manipulative woman games to get what they want. It happens a lot. We've all seen it. Every single woman knows women who do that shit. Well, and again, that's a he said, she said. That is for the fucking finder of facts, which would be a jury, to parse out. Okay, that's not for, that is irrelevant to this. What I see is that he was railroaded by the Dem Party per their playbook to get rid of somebody who was speaking about working class issues. And they did it perfectly. And every single person who is in there debating whether or not he's good for it, you're missing the whole fucking point. You are not seeing the forest through the trees. I implore you to see the forest through the trees. And then I will take it one step further and I will stipulate that everything she's saying is true. Now we're looking at, okay, so we've got a sexual assaulter, potentially a rapist. We might have that, which in my mind makes him blend in with probably 85% of fucking Congress. But we're going to now hold that rapist up against someone who's been a lifelong supporter of war and genocide, doesn't support single-payer healthcare, which again, I find to be violent, doesn't support a living wage, which I find to be violent. And now you're going to put a person like that in there and somehow that's okay because she didn't herself have Nazi tattoos and go overseas and kill people. She just signed a whole bunch of papers that kills a bunch of people. See, be fucking consistent. And again, if he did it, prove it. If not, move the fuck on. Because I could prove every vote that bitch made that has killed people. I don't know what you're proving about him by just going, yes, he was a mercenary. Yes, he did those things. Absolutely. And if he wants to now use his voice to stand against the state of Israel, that's my top priority. Yes. Yes.
I also want to say to this lovely lady who I don't know your name, but let's just assume that this is what you believe. If this were true, if this were even half true, and he was just putting a ruse on for everybody, once he became the nominee, once it became official, they sat him down and they asked him point blank, are you ready to play ball? And when he said no, they said, we don't care what it takes. We're going to get him out. We don't care how bad it looks. Mm-hmm. We don't care how many bridges we burn. We are going to get him out. Exactly. If any of this were true, he would have been left alone. Again, all statistical.
They wouldn't have had a problem with him if this was true. It doesn't matter. And again, we're all arguing about Platner's character. Again, not relevant. What's relevant is that he was elected. He won his primary. He was actually crushing it and doing really well. Let the people vote for what they want. If you have a criminal case, file it.
Yeah. And JR, again, you can think whatever you want. If this were truly the case, all statistical analysis, especially over the last month, was not only showing that he was going to beat Collins in the general, but that he might actually run away with it. And so as a result, they could not even attempt to afford this because anybody.
Yes. And you know what? Every time somebody wants to say, believe all women, I want you to think if you would say that to, I don't know, Emmett Till's mother. Because white women have been holding up these systems for fucking ever.
More than
do not tell me we believe all women, and we sure as fuck do not believe all women during an election cycle.
No. And again, like I said, is it plausible that she's telling the truth? Absolutely. But remember, if the goal, let's just look at it from, Jen, let's look at it logistically from the standpoint of we need to take control of the Senate. Now you can kiss it goodbye because Susan Collins will be reelected. Hear me now, quote me later.
Yes,
so
which was the point. Yes.
Here's what it really comes down to. If he is as bad as they say he is, they would have held it until he became a senator, and then they would have brought it to everybody's attention, and then they would have forced him out, and then they would have put in another Democratic senator. That is what the Democratic establishment would have done.
If that's what their issue was.
That's what their motivation truly was.
Exactly.
So now if you would like to guess exactly what's coming at this convention that's coming up, MDP statement on Democratic U.S. Senate nomination process. Today, the main Democratic Party held a meeting with over 100 state committee members who voted to hold a nominating convention to choose a new nominee if there is a vacancy to fill. Yeah, fuck the voters.
Good luck with that. You know what? That is one of the most, and by the way, that is one of the most Democrat Party things to do.
No, they're showing their whole ass.
Part of their playbook. We're going to ignore everything you said. See, guys, this is what I'm saying about Platner. He won the primary because of his policies. Whether or not you believe him, whether or not he would actually do those things is irrelevant. He was elected by the voters of Maine because they liked his policies, and the party had to cut it out from under him. That's exactly what's happening. And whether or not that accusation is real is also not relevant. You guys are being distracted by the shiny object.
The fact that they decided to do this, that they put the full court press on, they had the political article come out, they had the interview ready to go, and they did it within a week of the deadline where he has to get out of the race.
Oh, here it is. I am a hypocrite. Well, in the world of our battle between all sorts of forms of evil and what I would consider to be a very low bar, yeah, I'm picking him over her. I am. And if that makes you go, don't let the proverbial door hit you in the ass on the way out. Bye-bye.
And I also want to say to this lady who's here, listen, here's what you have to remember. Is Platner an imperialist? Did he do bad shit? I bet you Platner's a mass murderer. And
again, this is the same thing. This is irrelevant as to my thoughts about him.
Yes.
It's the process, people.
Yeah, and again,
oh my God.
when the ends are justifying the means of saving the Palestinian children, if that is what the motivation comes down to, among many other reasons, it is very plausible that Platner is simply repenting for all the shit that you did.
I don't support him. I support the voters who voted for him.
Correct.
People are not getting it. I don't care one way or the other about him.
Yeah, Saul gets it.
You guys are so gone. This is why
Saul gets it. Yeah. Again, here's what it comes down to. This is you could say whatever you want until you're blue in the face, but at the end of the day, if you want it, the people of Maine made a decision.
Yes.
The decision has now become we do not live in a democracy. Right. There is no legal process to prove that he did what they're saying he did. There is also the element of them removing from the interview and the article that she initiated the conversation saying, I'd like you to come over and give me a glute massage. These are people that are lovers, that she wrote this message.
Everybody who's falling for all of that. And again, I'm not singing praises for him. I don't like the tattoo. I don't like the black mercenary shit and the killing. I don't like any of that. But that's up to those voters. It's not up to people to come in and do every type of shenanigan to basically control an election. And that's the point. And no, I don't support that.
So what do you want to see happen? What do you think should happen? I'd like to hear because you're so amped up about this. I want to know exactly what you think is the best solution to this situation.
People like that don't have solutions. They've also never spent a day probably working in politics, and they don't know how it works.
So let me finish the letter. We will announce the full timeline details for how the nomination process will move forward, information about how to participate, and requirements for candidates soon. We will keep the public informed throughout the process. Transparency is the utmost importance. So what they're telling you is that the voters will not have a say in this. There will be no voter say in how this process goes down. Zero. No,
That's
sir.
a typical Democrat process. Mm-hmm. What we're pointing out is the bullshit and the shenanigans that are used when it's politically convenient for capital. It has nothing to do with ethics or morals. They didn't give a fuck about Tara Reid, want everybody to get behind Joe.
Yeah.
But now we have a problem with having a sexual assaulter. Now it's a problem. That's the hypocrisy we're pointing out. But yes, if you're going to ask me personally, do I pick someone who's had a 30+ year career of genocide in Congress over someone that might not necessarily do that? I'm going to go with that. And I'm going to go with that because that person is less entrenched and more able to be taken out. Again, you people can't see forest through trees.
Remember, there was a legal precedent set back in 2017 where they admitted in federal court, if we want to pick our candidate in the back of a smoke-filled room, AKA, we will pick our candidate in the back of a smoke-filled room, as they did Hillary, as they did Biden, as they did with Kamala, as they will do in 28. If you want to get up for this shit, please, by all means, do it. But don't say we didn't warn you. There is an
Thank you. It's nice to be recognized. Thank you.
Well, don't say everybody's from Massachusetts. Again, JR, we like you, JR. We know you're one of our guys. But here's the thing. It's not a question of the red flags. Everything is a process. And even if you don't agree with it, the Maine voters voted for him. That's who they chose. They could have chose Janet Mills, and she was the goddamn governor, but they chose him. That's again, subvert democracy. Hear me now. Quote me later.
Also, I want to point out that a huge amount of the people that were coming out and saying that he shouldn't drop out were women.
Oh, yeah.
Were women.
How about Blakely? Blakely's been on fire.
Because, again, it has nothing to do with the voters sort that out if you believe in a representative democracy situation. That's for them to sort out.
Yeah.
But when you see it so blatantly, strategically being manipulated and controlled by false flags and propaganda bullshit, even if some of the stuff is true, even if all of it's true, this isn't how it's supposed to work. And for anybody who thinks I'm a hypocrite for saying that, I would suggest you go back because I think I've been pretty fucking consistent.
We all are. You know what this is like, Jen? Let me finish this out. Let me finish this out and I'll explain to you what this is like. There is an unprecedented amount of energy and enthusiasm among Maine Democrats. No, there is a large amount of motivation and energy surrounding Graham Platner's campaign. The Maine Democrats, he is with them in spite of them. In fact, Jen and I are both of the mindset that he really should have run as an independent, and I think he'd still be where he is today. Because remember, he did most of this on his own. He did have Bernie's backing. But at the end of the day, none of the Democrats really came to him. He really did this on his own.
They were thinking it would just not work and go away. And that's why they gave it as long as they did. And they threw everything they had at him. And if you guys don't see that, then that's a problem. In fact, they could have taken him out in the very beginning with all of the same information. But they didn't think he would get that far and that they'd have to do that. So that's not what they really cared about. They don't care about any of those things. The Democrats or any partisan hackery, they're violating women more than the women being originally violated, because women are getting used and violated for political gainmanship. And they're being used as little pawns against these men. That's also pretty fucking misogynistic.
Driven in part by many of the dedicated volunteers and supporters who were inspired by Graham Platner's campaign, we look forward to coming together and harnessing that energy around our new nominee as we work to defeat Susan Collins in November. No, you are not working to defeat Susan Collins.
Nor will you.
Established that she has already won re-election. And so you can kiss the Senate goodbye. You're not going to win it. And I can already assure you that what is going to happen, ladies and gentlemen, if you think that, and there lies the rub.
They've already started. They've already started with calling him a misogynist.
Not only that, they have been equating Abdul El-Sayed in conjunction with Platner. They're saying he hasn't been vetted enough. Who's to say that he isn't behind this? Do you know that Neera Tanden is making the rounds on national TV now, talking about what an evil bastard Abdul El-Sayed is?
I'm sure she is. Does anybody stop to think what an evil cunt Neera Tanden is?
And by the way, one of the things that also cannot be overstated here, and one of the reasons why Abdul Al-Sayed is going to win that primary is because Haley Stevens is a disaster of a candidate. She cannot hold her shit in more ways than one, as you saw on the debate stage probably very recently. Do you guys think for 1 second that they are not going to kneecap him when he's the nominee and try to get Rogers to win the Senate seat? When push comes to shove, anyone who is going to truly rock the boat and push for the fundamental left populist changes that are being demanded in the United States right now. Do you really think the Democratic Party is not going to sandbag Al-Sayed when he's the nominee? Then you just haven't been paying attention, because he's next. And on top of everything else,
and I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to put it out there right now. I'm not going to believe it. I'm going to actually, in these cases, I actually think we need to start going that we don't even believe it until it's been proven beyond a reasonable doubt. Not when it involves partisan hackery. I can't believe a word that they say. And unfortunately, it's a very boy who cries wolf thing, because I want to believe all women. And I know that all women, we are violated. I know that completely. But yet I also know that women can also lie, and they do lie. And they're very easily maybe created to lie during a political season when they might be being paid to do so or otherwise incentivized. I don't know. Timing is important and nuance matters.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And if you think we're crazy, if you think that we don't know what we're talking about, this isn't about us knowing something that other people are not aware of. This isn't something about, oh, we let our feelings get in the way of this. Oh, we just really love Platner.
Yeah.
When have you ever heard us talk about him on this podcast?
In the very beginning, when he first came about and was talking about class war issue, of course, we talked about it. But the only candidate we're currently supporting with our PAC is Shama Sawant. So we're not saying that Platner is the be all end all. We're saying that you can see the Democrats, how they operate and how they use their strategy to get rid of candidates that they don't like. And the reasons that they don't like him are completely not the same reasons why you all might not like him. They're using those reasons. Yeah. They don't give a shit. They don't care that he killed kids. They don't care that he raped women. They don't care. They care that he's talking about class shit and saying things against the Zio state. That's what they care about. So,
and that isn't, and it's not, again, like I said, and I would say this, and Casey, I agree. He's probably a really shitty guy. Again, he worked for fucking Blackwater. He was in combat. He has said some really fucked up shit online. And there's this talk now about what he may or may not have been vetted properly, or that the Democrats deliberately sabotaged the process because they knew he was going to take off like a rocket ship, which he did. And they knew that the only way to ensure that they didn't get stuck with a guy like this in the halls of the Senate. Let me tell you, do you realize that one of the first things that I could have seen Platner doing in the Senate is challenging John Fetterman to a fist fight? Like, that's the type of guy
that would be glorious.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm against physical. So I don't even like that, all that UFC MMA shit, but that does sound fun. That actually sounds fun.
And I do want to point out one last thing before we'll pull this up first, and then I'll get to it. From earlier today. This is nearly way. Starting with Dave Weigel, the energy for Platner is going to.
Keep
you
reading.
Should tell me when you're going to do that. Joe.
Doesn't matter. Keep reading.
I can't. You put the graphic up. I can't see it.
Oh. Sorry, I'm thinking of Neera. She gets the hit list.
Lilica, you can kiss that goodbye now. That's over. Done. Yeah. Goodbye.
And
done.
Absolutely 1,000% thank the Democrats.
Mm-hmm. The energy for Platner is going to move to Al-Sayed. They are very different people. Al-Sayed is a high-achieving brainiac who doesn't drink and has 2 kids with his college sweetheart. He's a Muslim. He's a towel head.
He's a Muslim?
Yeah, he's a towel head.
You can't have that.
Can't have that. No way. As we've said, This is why I prefer conservative bigots to liberal bigots, because with conservative bigots, you see them coming a mile away. With liberal bigots, it's always undercover. They always frame it as, it's like the liberal bigots in the state of Florida who said that Gillum couldn't win. Gillum can't win. A black man is not going to be governor of the state of Florida. Guess what?
Yeah,
Byron Donalds is already putting up the drapes in the Tallahassee mansion, already doing it.
And he should, because that's what we're having. I shouldn't say
Let me tell you something.
I'm a Georgia resident now.
Yeah, let me tell you something. Byron Donalds becoming the governor of Florida, you want to talk about the ultimate fuck you to the Democratic Party? That is a big one. Big one. Really great.
And again, before people start going all in there, I don't like Byron. Never have. Think he's a total piece of shit. Also don't think he's that bright. Have a lot of negative comments. Would never vote for him. So no one come at me about this. But that's what's going to happen.
Yes. This is Neera Tanden talking. If you want to talk about somebody who was paid millions of dollars in 2015 and 2016 to work in conjunction with Debbie Wasserman Schultz to kneecap Bernie Sanders through the Center for American Progress, this is the person who worked with a whole bunch of plethora of people, working with fucking SKD Knickerbocker and all of these NGO organizations. And here's what Neera Tanden had to say. If I was the El Said campaign, I probably wouldn't want to be associated with Platner Advisors' previous push for Platner as a future president, given that it sounds grotesque today. But then again, his campaign has all the same advisors. So maybe he will be next.
Is that a threat, Neera?
Oh, sure. Shit.
Neera, is that a threat? I love people that are so easy to threaten people with their fucking pen. Oh, that's what I like. Oh, this bitch. You know, I don't even know where to start with that. This may or may not be true. The truth is, I do not know enough about him in terms of personal stuff. I really don't. And again, not saying anything good about him. Don't care. Don't like him. Don't like his stupid wife. Don't like either of them. Think they're both suck ass. So yeah, but I don't know all the stuff about him.
The last thing I want to say about this before we move on is this. The Democratic Party is a party of the bourgeois liberal class. This is not a party of workers. This is not even a party that, frankly, I understand why there is a lot of people who drifted over to Trump, because they think that the Democratic Party is an anti-white working class party.
It is.
And you can see why they have moved so substantially over to Trump, even if there's no motivation regarding policy. It's because they're constantly told how much they're terrible. And in the case of, and again, just on the surface, regardless if there was any dirt to begin with, a guy like Graham Platner is not accepted in the Democratic Party. Alpha types, the Democratic establishment does not want anything to do with them.
Oh, no. They're all about their Chuck Schumers of the world.
Correct.
They're all about all of yeah, it's true.
Yep. The Republicans fear their base and the Democrats hate their base.
Well, the Democrats have essentially cut their base. They don't have that base, right? The Democrats went corporate and they are no longer with the working people, and that's been years already. So who is their base? The base of the current Democratic Party are elitist white liberals. And then you also have a lot of people from the Black community, especially older and predominantly female Black members of the party, that just will not give it up. But for the most part, it is a very elitist, privileged party now.
Correct.